commemoration of Dr. Magubane's passing, and we're now joined by Seth Mazibuko, an anti-apartheid activist and student leader during the June 16, 1976 uprising. Mr. Mazibuko, thank you for joining us on the program this evening. Now, as an anti-apartheid activist who has also witnessed the impact of Dr. Peter Magubane's work, can you share your initial thoughts and emotions upon hearing about his passing?
My brother, it touches on me in every respect. South Africa has really lost, and yes, he was, Dr. Peter, sick and old. But it's not an easy thing to lose a man of his caliber with all the professional way of dealing with matters journalism, and more than matters journalism, but he was a father to many of us in 1976. In 1976, this was a man who worked with the caliber of journalists such as Joe Tlolwe, Mama Sophie Dima, and Alf Khumalo. These were the kind of journalists that did not just write or use, their pictures and their cameras. The other day I was talking to someone and saying, maybe we should start talking about coming up with what we call June 16 in camera, so that we can pick up the works of people like Ubaba or Peter Magubane. I heard, because just now on the first day of the year, just after coming out of Umbongeni Ngema, who also played a role in that history. Now I'm saying to myself, here are we losing those people who captured June 16, 1976 history, either on stage or on camera, and yet we still don't have that story truthfully represented. Ubaba Magubane did not only represent June 16's history. He also comes from the history that represented 1960 Sharpeville. He has a lot of pictures in that area. He actually captured the history whilst black people were under apartheid in so many ways. And he's joining people like Umam Sophie. He's joining people like Sam Zima, who captured there's a picture of me, and you go to Apartheid Museum, you go to Hector Peterson Museum, you won't miss Sam Zima's pictures. I am so happy. I am saying, really, the June 16 people who preserved that history are going. And I'm asking, let them maybe start another June 16 in heaven.
Mr. Mazibuko, Dr. Magubane's photographs, like you say, played a crucial role in documenting the apartheid era. From your perspective, how did his lens then contribute to exposing the harsh realities of racial segregation in this country?
In so many ways, my brother, in so many ways. If there was one person who never spoke loud, but who cameraed, if that's English, lot of apartheid ills and pains of our people, is Peter Magubane. When this morning I got to be told this, and thank you, because you are the first people who informed me about this. When I got to know about it, myself, God, who else can then now tell us in a camera form about June 16 and all other struggles, if not Peter, if not, sorry to say Peter, Dr. Peter, Dr. Peter. And by the way, I forget to mention this, that when I got detained in 1976, I was only a 16-year-old. When I was taken to John Foster Dr Peter was one of the people that got arrested. And when we were kept in solitary confinement, when we were going for interview, for interrogation, here I was meeting Dr Peter. And Dr Peter did not just look at me as an activist, but he challenged the police that time and said, what does this child want here? He didn't say, what does this comrade or what does this leader want here? What does this child want here? Yeah. This child is supposed to be home. All I'm saying is that Peter managed to get that pain of apartheid. Actually, not only of apartheid, for that matter, because he spoke on camera, even on issues under democracy, post-1994. He would touch on issues that many of us or many of, journalists will feel soft with. He will touch on them and capture them, in so many ways on how bad apartheid was and how bad, our leaders in the current democracy are. So, some people do not speak loud as we do, maybe, but they speak loud or their eye, which is the camera. Yeah. They would then, after they put a word. He wrote a very interesting one, a book about June 16, where it is very pictorial. It is only pictorial. And that's what we are using now, even to present and preserve the history of 1976.
Speaking about that history, the iconic image captured by Dr. Magubane in 1956, depicting a girl on a bench with the Europeans only sign, it became a symbol of segregation in South Africa. How do you think such images influence the global understanding of apartheid, and why were they essential in the fight against injustice?
Yeah. Look, my brother, again, we are picking up one. There are many. And I'm asking, and maybe that's where some of us who are still alive have failed, people like Peter Magubane and Semzema, Mama Sofitima, and the rest of other leaders, is that we have not been able to say, what is it that journalists, came up with to speak either on camera or on a pen against apartheid. We have not, and I hope we owe you, even you guys now, we owe you that kind of heritage and history where we're saying, guys, Bo Peter Magubane, Bo Joe Tolwe, and Ngwenya, and others, and I forget some of the names, but you guys, we depended on your stories, not in word, but in camera and pen. And we've not come up with, and please God, help me, that let this be a project that one must undertake before I also rest, is that a project where, what were the stories that the people like Peter Magubane told, and how did they tell them? And how do we keep those stories in one archive so that you young people who are now in the same profession can then refer to and then be able to say, never, never, and never again. That should be a missioned kind of a project that I think we can let people like Peter, Semzema, Sofitima, Joe Tolwe, admire that it's still there, where we can display their works. Sorry, I'm getting out on a tangent, but your question was, how does that, how many young people know even the question you are asking me about of that Magubane is that in our syllabi? Is that in our curriculum? It's not there, my brother. Had it on camera. But let me tell you something. We are not having it in our books for our children and for you as young people to learn from their wisdom.
And as we wrap up our conversation, and also on the theme of learning, What do you think the lasting legacy, at least from your perspective, is of Dr. Magubane?
Look, you know, these were the guys who spoke less. And I'm saying, if our young people were to learn more from saying less, you know, to me that is more impactful than, you know, listening to politicians now lately.
Yeah.
Politicians sometimes do not have even the evidence of what they say. And I'm saying these were the people who would, you know, the legacy of Peter Magubane is the legacy of Senzima, is the legacy of Avkumalo, is the legacy of Sofitima and the rest. But where is it? Where is it documented? Where is it put together? And I'm challenging you, my brother, you as young people, you as South Africans, take up this. You know, take up this as a serious project, because we are losing our history. And unfortunately, those who are or who were our enemies, who took part in our oppression and our pain, are now taking over that history and making it theirs. And there's one thing that we can give back to a Peter Magubane, to and many others, is that you, and I'm challenging you again, you as young people, please stand up and say, Peter Magubane, rest in peace, but here's your legacy.
Mr. Mazibuko, thank you so much for your time.